What's going on, NBA fans? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Central with me, Bobby, one half of the Cognac Boys. And on today's episode, we got to talk about it. John Collins got honest when it came down to former head coach Nate McMillan. He explains why Nate McMillan was fired. I'm going to talk about that and a little bit more right after this.
Thank you for tuning in to the number one place for your basketball fix, NBA Central, hosted by the Cognac Boys.
All right, y'all. If y'all like what y'all listening to, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, John Collins, we know that's one of the guys that's down there with the Atlanta Hawks, and just reported a few days ago, head coach Nate McMillan was fired and relieved of his duties as head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Now, we knew that there was some rumblings going on, you know what I'm saying, with there some disconnect between Nate McMillan and Trae Young and things of that nature, to where they were kind of beefing a little bit. And that was just kind of dating back to where Trae Young was dealing with a shoulder injury. Nate McMillan wanted Trae Young to attend shoot around. Trae Young, rebuttal, wanted to go ahead and just skip shoot around, go receive treatment, and then show up for the game. Nate McMillan was not on board with that, did not like it, wanted him to receive treatment, attend shoot around, and then play in the game later that night. When Trae Young said he wasn't with the shoot around, Nate McMillan said you either attend shoot around or you don't play. And that night, Trae Young did not play. So that was just kind of overarching, idea what kind of was going on between Nate McMillan and the players in those locker rooms. And just earlier this week, Nate McMillan was relieved of his duties by the Atlanta Hawks. So John Collins, he was a part of a press conference to where, they had the GM come up in there, Landry Fields come in there and speak to the press. They had John Collins speak, and a couple other players spoke too. But what really stood out is what John Collins said, in my opinion, and it kind of explains why head coach Nate McMillan was fired in the first place. And it's kind of crazy to me, but I want to go ahead and read the quote from John Collins and then dissect it in this manner. So John Collins, he came out and said regarding Nate McMillan, he said, I feel like Nate is a little more suited for just guys who are older and understand the game, whereas a young team, we need guidance. I feel like we needed a different kind of guidance, more guidance for a team that needs help on development and mental side. Now, what they're telling me is that these guys really did not like the coaching style of Nate McMillan. Now, keep in mind that Nate McMillan was a guy that had led them and was the forefront, stepping in for the previous head coach and helped them get to the Eastern Conference Finals with potentially having an opportunity to go to the finals. They played a good series that year. And the only thing I got a question is what kind of guidance were you looking for, John Collins? Because if you're looking for developmental, aspects, okay, that's fine, that's cool. But from what it appears is that Nate McMillan wanted to run a certain type of offense, and you guys didn't want to, abide by their rules. Now, this is just from the outside looking in, so I don't know all the intricacies of what the hell was really going on inside that locker room. You know what I'm saying? And the key words for me when it comes to John Collins and his statement is development and mental side. So, did you want him to be more laxed? Did you want him to be more player friendly as what the new NBA is? You want a player's coach, you know what I mean, versus a guy that's going to hold you accountable. I don't know what level of accountability was pushed onto the players by Nate McMillan, but as somebody who had to get it out of the mud myself, or I know plenty of people who had to get it out of the mud, for lack of a better term, you want to be coached hard. You want to be able to perform at your best, at least in my eyes. Some guys are not built that way. Some guys, they want a coach that's going to come in and butter it up for them, make them feel good and things like that. And you know what I mean? And was the developmental side of Nate McMillan telling you what you did wrong or right? Or was it the way that he came down as far as your development? Like, hey, John Collins, you wasn't doing X, Y, and Z. Why are you not doing this? You need to do this. Was it that type of accountability, or was it something that was a bit more harsh than that? You know what I mean? So that's just what it really is when it comes down to it, just looking at everything from the outside looking in, because we never really know the specific details of what goes on in those locker rooms and things like that. So that's just, I don't know. But then the general manager came out, Landry Fields. He said, as of late, my pulse and read on his team is that it was time for a change as of late. And there was even speculation that Nate McMillan had expressed a desire to resign throughout the season. Now, y'all pushed the coach to damn near resign. That is crazy to me. If you ask me, the only way you resign in the middle of a season is if the total situation is horrible. The situation is horrible. You know what I mean? And even if we see bad teams that still come out and fight every tooth and nail for their head coach, i.e. the Indiana Pacers. These guys play their tail off every single night, and they're not even in the best winning situation. It's just the belief behind the head coach. Now, is that developmental aspect different than what John Collins is expecting? I don't know. That could be something that could be a factor in it, though. But the fact of the matter is that these young guys in Atlanta felt that it was necessary that Nate McMillan get fired because he wasn't helping develop. He wasn't showing guidance on the developmental side or the mental side, in the words of John Collins, not my words. He said that. You know what I'm saying? So is Quinn it's being speculated that Quinn Snyder will become the new head coach for the team. Is Quinn Snyder that guy? I don't know. I know what Quinn Snyder has done. I mean, he wasn't horrible. I believe he was solid. You know what I'm saying? He had some good teams when he was a head coach, and he made some noise. But at the end of the day, will what he's saying resonate with those Atlanta Hawk players? Because if you ask me, it seemed like they're just a bunch of fucking babies. Now, that could be me over speaking, but at the end of the day, if you're not playing basketball to the system that the coach wants you to play at, that had you successful in making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, then what are we talking about? But and another thing can be true is that a lot of the times a coach's voice, it doesn't hit as it once did. It doesn't resonate as it once did. And that could be true. You know what I'm saying? As the general manager said, the pulse as of late and the read on the team, it just wasn't it. It was time for a change. And that can be something, sometimes you don't spend 10, 20 years within the organization or a company or whatever it is. Sometimes it's a good 3, 4, 5 years, and you did your job. You accomplished a few things, and now it's time to get up out of there. So that is I don't know, man. It's just a tricky situation that we really don't 100% understand. But I'm anxious to see how these guys come out and perform now that Nate McMillan's gone, and now there's a new voice that's going to be in the locker room. But the question still will remain: will these guys follow the lead of that interim coach or the head coach that comes in there? Because it has been said that Trae Young is a diva. It has been said that, and there's speculation that he doesn't like playing with John Collins or DeJounte Murray. So we got to go ahead and see what the hell is actually going to happen with this Atlanta Hawks team. Because if you ask me, they should be better than what they look like. That's the reality. They should be better than what they look like. You have a great backcourt in DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? But Trae Young this year, all his shooting numbers are down, even though they were, at least as far as percentages, they weren't astronomically good. You know what I'm saying? Or relatively good. You know what I'm saying? It was something to get him done. Like if you look towards the stats, you might say, okay, he giving me 28, 9 and 10 or something like that. It was something close to that, crazy numbers. But if you look at the percentages, he was a high volume shooter that wasn't that efficient. You know what I'm saying? So what is going to change? What change do you want? What guidance would you like, John Collins? Because if you want some guy that's going to come in and butter it up and be the players coach, look at what the hell can happen. Look at the player coach that just left, that got kicked out of Brooklyn. And look what he accomplished. Steve Nash didn't do nothing. So John Collins, be careful of what you ask for, because you can get a guy that's coming there who's a player coach but don't have a voice and just let you do whatever, and then you find yourself in playoff situations and you flaming out and you getting your ass sent home without even winning a couple games in the first round. So be careful what you wish for. That is what it is. You got to be careful what you wish for. You got to sometime, me personally, I respect players that want to be coached hard because you should want to be at your best. Yes, developmental guidance goes into that to help me develop my talents. But where's the personal accountability at, John Collins? You have to have personal accountability as well as taking on the accountability from others who you are under, that you have to trust to lead you in battle. That's just what it is. So what do you want? The next coach you come in there, you need to make that clear with that coach, not to us, to that coach, so y'all can get to where y'all need to be or want to be at least. Because Nate got y'all to the Eastern Conference Finals. If Quinn Snyder come in or whoever else might come in and y'all don't sniff for Eastern Conference Finals, was the firing really for the best? We don't know. So go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You can find me at Shy Boys Podcast. If you want to follow me or any other creator on here, NBA Central, go ahead and hit us up collectively at nbacentralshow@gmail.com, on Twitter at NBA Central Pod. And if you want to leave a hot take or send your voicemail in, we got a number where you could do so. That's 773-270-2799. This is another episode of NBA Central. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to the number one place for your basketball fix, NBA Central, hosted by the Cognac Boys.